Getting paid to learn with one of the world's most elite pay-per-click experts, Steve Blom. Today's episode is brought to you by aweber.com. Start your free trial today at servenomaster.com/aweber.
Are you tired of dealing with your boss? Do you feel underpaid and underappreciated? If you want to make it online, fire your boss and start living your retirement dreams now, then you've come to the right place. Welcome to Serve No Master Podcast, where you'll learn how to open new revenue streams and make money while you sleep. Presented live from a tropical island in the South Pacific by best-selling author Jonathan Green. Now, here's your host.
I'd love to know how you actually got into online marketing. I don't really know your origin story, so for me that would be very interesting.
Well, okay, so basically, I started actually, I had a company that sold stuff before I guess it's before the internet, although the internet was around in the late 90s. I had a business, if you've ever seen guys, you've been walking through a shopping mall and you see guys demonstrating, knives or sunglasses or skin stuff or super cool little Christmas gadgets. That was me, and I did millions of dollars of selling stuff in shopping malls with crews of people that do direct sales like that. And at the time, this is back in the 90s. Like Yahoo was the most awesome site, and Alta Vista was a search engine that people actually used. Nobody even remembers that anymore. And they thought that the internet would actually get to be like 100 million pages back then. That was like a big deal, but I kept hearing like e-commerce did a few $1 million or $10 million or $30 million. And I could see how it was growing. And I was in the physical space of all these malls, and that's a huge capital intensive, very hard business to be in. And, just thousands and thousands of transactions, $20 here, $40 there. And I thought, well, man, this internet is going to be the thing, this is awesome. So, I was fortunate enough to be able to sell my company to another company that was maybe 10 times my size that did the same thing. And I got a good price because they were just so angry with me. My PR was so good that I was able to get into some in that business. When there's a grand opening of a brand new mall, there's not too many of them every year. I mean, this is, it's a multi-million-dollar thing to build a whole big shopping mall. And so, basically in the year that there were like 5 new malls, big mega malls opening in the United States, I think I got the contract for 2 of them, even though the other company was way, way bigger than me, and they should have had all of them, but they didn't because I had a couple contacts that liked me, and who knows. So bottom line is I sold that company, and then I spent the next year and a half, kind of semi-retired, but trying to figure out the internet, and I just failed and failed and failed. And the first actual business that I was able to start with was selling computers on eBay, and I had a connection to where and I'll bet you that this business is still going on. Lots of companies, they just lease computers from Dell and different companies for 2. Yeah, mostly, sometimes 1 year, but most of them are 2 or 3 years. And at the end of the 2 or 3 year period, the whole big company will just take all of their computers and the lease is over. So they just dump them, and Dell will give them, a whole bunch more. So Dell doesn't want those computers back, and there's a whole secondary market for buying them. And so that's what I did, is I bought and sold desktop computers. Actually, not desktop, mostly laptop computers, because there was a good market. Like, man, if you had a laptop with a 300 meg hard drive, that was the big deal. So that was the first actual business that worked on the internet, and then I realized I needed to some help in trying to learn the internet, because I didn't know anything. I mean, I really learned how to. I mean, I could surf Windows and type some stuff. I could barely use Excel. I didn't really know anything. So I wanted to learn how to build web pages, but it was really complicated. And so I decided I wanted to work for somebody for a while to just to learn. But what ended up happening is nobody would hire me. So I had to start my own company. And that's always worked for me is if nobody will let you in the front door, you just start a company and you jam, You can always hire somebody that has the skills, that knows what you need, if you can sell a little bit. So that really kind of saved me. But that was my first real business that worked, and I'd recommend that to anybody to start. If you don't know anything about the whole internet marketing thing, when I started, everything was a lot more innocent. Everything was brand new. People didn't really there wasn't even pay-per-click. There was no Google AdWords even. No, people thought that was ridiculous, to actually pay for traffic back then. I mean, that's how innocent everything was. So that's how. That's a little bit about how I got started. It wasn't an overnight success for sure.
How did you move from that into becoming a real pay-per-click expert with Google? How did you transition, and what was your journey?
Well, we had a few different things that happened before we had pay-per-click. We had email, and email marketing was huge. And I started with Laura Betterly and two other people, a company back in the early 2000s. It was a database consulting company, but we did a lot of email, and because Laura back then had started a company called PCDJ, which was the first dual MP3 app for DJs, so that they could mix regular vinyl records. They could mix MP3s like vinyl records. And so that was a real big deal at the time. And that company failed because too many investors got involved, and it kind of got a little bit crazy around that. This is the first .com rush. But Laura did realize something kind of interesting about it. They got a lot of people that signed up and used their software and learned a lot of stuff about how to make that business work. But she noticed that most of the actual money that they made didn't really come from the software. It came from their mailing list. They had an email list of about 1 million people that were musicians, DJs, people that were really interested in music and technology. And so we worked out a deal with another company, and that company, PCDJ, just kind of went bust, and she lost all of her stock in the company. Or not all of it. The stock just became worthless, and eventually long story, but But she realized that, hey, this email, there's a lot of power in email. And if you can send an email to 1 million people in a day, you can make a lot of money. And this is before the Canned Spam Act and all that stuff. But that's kind of what we did is we had a big database, and we had a bunch of different permission-based opt-in, email lists of different things, and we charged clients to send an email to whatever, a couple 100,000 people, 1 million people. Lots of people, lots of companies are still doing that to this day. They're just adding more bits to their database. So it's not just now like, here's John with his email address, and here's where he signed up to be part of this email list. Now they know a lot more about you, so they can charge more for a little more targeted list. But we had that company going for 2 or 3 years. And then when the Canned Spam Act started coming down, it was like a perfect storm of a few things, because Google had just started AdWords, and about a year before that, or 2 years before that, the Overture guy started, which was the go-to search engine. You probably don't even, this is all before your time, I think, Jonathan. But actually, the guy who actually started pay-per-click, his name is Bill Gross, and he has a company called Idea Lab. And he started this search engine called GoTo, and he was a really far-thinking guy. He worked out a deal with Yahoo to buy all their clicks for 10 cents, just every click. And he guaranteed, I'm going to pay you 10 cents for every click. And then he opened up GoTo search engine at the same time so people could bid, because he felt that the market would come and people would realize the value of buying web visitors to come to their site. And hopefully that was going to happen before he went bankrupt. and that's what he did. And a lot of keywords stayed at 10 cents, and he didn't make any money off of those. But keywords like mortgages and loans and stuff like that started to get up to $1 or $2 back then. And that model was what Google was looking at the time, around the time, because they couldn't figure out how to monetize their search engine. It was a great search engine, but they didn't make any money. And they tried to sell their search engine to Yahoo for $1.5 million, and Yahoo passed, believe it or not.
Whoa.
And yeah, this all happened in a little bit earlier, 99, 2000, around, or maybe even earlier, 98, something like that. So, yeah, pretty crazy. Anyway, fast forward to around 2003, and all of a sudden, more people are on the internet. Email went from like a really friendly "you've got mail" to people being, inundated with too many marketing messages, and spam started becoming a big problem. And then the Canned Spam Act started to come down. So I kind of saw the writing on the wall. And just one other little thing, part of my journey also was in around 2001, I actually got somebody to hire me working for an SEO company, and I learned all the top SEO techniques of the day, links, meta tags, and all that. And so for a few months I worked for that guy also, to try to learn how to bring traffic to websites. So that was in there too. But now I had a few partners, and we had this whole email thing going, and I could see that the writing on the wall was, here's one thing that's weird about the internet. Like, in a heartbeat, things can change, and you have to be able to change your whole business model. And if you're going to keep going, we had already had some trouble here and there with if somebody complained on one of our lists or whatever, we had admins that would take down one of our servers or just like take one of our domains off offline, and we didn't have any recourse even if the people were crazy, so we'd have to change servers, change hosts sometimes, which is like rebuilding your business overnight, and we always took the people off the list if they complained or whatever. But hey, it's email, it's like people can opt in for a list and they don't know exactly what they're opting in for, and then they don't remember that they opted in, and now they say that you spammed them when you didn't, or, welcome to the internet, So anyway, I saw the writing on the wall, like legislation's coming along. People don't like spam at all. They don't like a lot of commercial messages. I have to find a legal way to bring traffic to my website, and that's when I got interested in the AdWords program. I saw the writing on the wall, and then I just went. We had our whole company doing all this other stuff. We had about 20 people working for us, like a real people that worked in cubicles and stuff, and not just outsourcing to people in the Philippines or whatever. Although we did outsource to some people in India also, which gave us, we probably had about 50 people counting all those people. And so that business was, while it was running, I just went on my own and then just took every guru that I could find that was the best AdWords, learned everything I could about it, and did some experiments and worked first with our own company generating leads. And I totally freaked out the salespeople because the first, I don't know, I got like maybe $500 to spend on a few keywords. And the first $500 that we spent, we brought in several big deals that was maybe $10,000 worth of income. And all of a sudden, the salesman came over. The guy, one of the partners who was head of sales, came over and said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Well, I'm doing this AdWords thing, and buying some of these keywords. People looking for this." And he's like, "Oh, you got to do more." So we were real successful in generating leads for our company using that. And then I kept on with it really ever since. But the same way that I realized, hey, the writing is on the wall for email the way it's been done, and pay-per-click is the new thing. I always kind of keep my eye on the future, and I'm always looking for new traffic sources as new platforms kind of come out. So I'm testing like all the new stuff. I was really into Facebook, but Laura, my partner, it ended up being way better than me in Facebook. So we let her do that. But I'm testing, Twitter ads. I've been remarketing for over 5 years before all the internet marketing gurus started talking about it. And I've tried almost every platform there is to try to, buy traffic, because, you don't want all your eggs in one basket with traffic, no matter how great it is. So I'm not just an AdWords guy. I became a paid traffic guy because I could kind of see that was how the internet was going to go. There's no other way to monetize everything being free unless there's ads, and there has to be advertisers. So our whole innocent beginning internet is gone just about, but paid traffic will never go away. So it's a skill that businesses are always going to need. The platforms might change, like Facebook is really hot right now. It's got a lot of great features. People are doing really well with it. Kind of reminds me of how AdWords was around 2003, but every platform evolves and the costs go up because more advertisers go in it, and then so you have a first mover advantage to people that first start with the platform and stay with it through the whole cycle, and then there is an advantage if you're the first mover in a platform that is new and hot, So anyway, that's, I guess, maybe that's more information than you wanted to know,
No, it's so interesting because I love hearing people's journeys. What I wonder is, you started off working for yourself, and it sounds like every time you want to learn something, you either start your own company or try to get hired by another company. Now, as a big pay-per-click guy, I know that you have a lot of big clients. You kind of do an agency. How do you deal with client management and kind of making sure that people know you're not their employee when you're kind of interfacing? Because when I used to do client management and sell SEO myself many, many years ago, that was my biggest struggle starting out, was that people would start to think I was an employee of theirs, even though I was just a consultant. How do you kind of manage that balance and make it clear that you're your own boss?
Well, that's tough because, also the market has really changed from 2003 to 2016 or so. Back in 2007, 2008, you could do some really crazy SEO stuff with just buying some links, and you could get ranked. You could get any site ranked to the top pretty easy, and we got a lot of leads coming in from SEO. Even we didn't even almost need to do pay per click, and now, largely there's a lot of factors. One of the factors is, Laura, my wife, made a course called Mobile Local Fusion that basically taught people how to make their own agency and do it. And we had, I can't remember, at least 35,000 people bought that course. So we unleashed upon mostly the U.S., but in the U.K. and Australia too, we unleashed tens of thousands of new agencies upon the world. And she kind of basically gave everything away of like exactly how we do it and how we manage the stuff. So as a result of that, now there's a lot more competition with agencies, and people are cold calling all kinds of small businesses to try to get the business, and it's grown up and it's more professional, and there's real sales teams and real good presentations and lots more tools to give really professional reports to clients and stuff like that. But if you're first starting out, how do you, I don't know. I mean, for us, we have a much different mindset than a lot of people do about business. We found in our first, actually, almost every company that we've been part of, from the database management to our other much bigger agency that we had that did pay-per-click and email marketing and stuff, to yada yada marketing, which we've had for the last few years. We've actually, instead of getting bigger, we've gotten smaller, and we found that we'd much rather be a boutique agency and not be for everybody than to just try to do more, bigger. By being smaller, we focus more on quality, and we focus more on being able to work with the people that we want to. And one of the things that I've found is it's really easy to sell. I mean, if you know at all what you're doing with whatever it is you're doing, whether it's SEO or PPC or even site design. If you talk to almost anybody at a barbecue or or at a bar or a friend of a friend, whatever, you start talking about this stuff and people are like, "Whoa, that's great." How do I get that? I've got this I've got this veterinary practice. I've got this dental practice. I need some help. It's really easy people want it. It's easy to sell it, but so for us, it's always been easy to sell. It's always been easy to get the clients. But the thing that crushes you is the delivery. If you can't deliver, or if the person that is the client is the wrong type of person that brings you down or makes you not happy, or treats you like an employee, or is not thankful about the results that you get, or whatever. If you have 10 really good clients and one really crappy one, that one really crappy one will crush you and crush your employees if you're outsourcing, and it will ruin your whole company. It'll just go from, your whole company will go from making lots of money and everybody's happy, it's good, to like there's all these problems, and the bad people will suck resources that should be used for delivering to the other good people. So for us, the getting the client and getting people in the door, the sales part is not hard. It's the delivery that's hard. But you really have to keep in mind that not everybody gets let into the door. You know what I mean? Not everybody, you're not going to let everybody work with you. And it's not just that you're playing the game like, what's the great Bernie Madoff? He was the king of this, right? It's like he had this fund and everybody could invest in it, but oh no, it's a closed fund. No, you can't get in, right? I'm sorry. Oh no, we're not taking any new clients now. And he would kind of play that game of like the reverse, and then and he would not sell you, and then that would make people want to come to him anymore. It's like, no, we're not playing that game, but we're just. We just know that if the wrong people get led on to the servicing area, then it just won't work, because it's easy to sell and not easy to deliver. To deliver, that means there's a lot of work that has to be done, and a lot of research, and a lot of stuff behind the scenes that an average client that runs a business, especially a small business, they're not going to have any idea what it is. So sometimes it's hard to even explain like why what you're doing is valuable, but they do know when the phone rings, and so that's our kind of that's our philosophy. We don't, if you have the right people, that's not so much of a problem. If you have the right clients, it's not so much of a big deal. Having them treating you not right, you know what I mean? And we have fired clients before, and we are not hesitant to fire them. You know what I mean? And you know what's funny? I mean, I remember one client, we were like, okay, you know what? Guess what? You're fired. Here's your stuff. We'll here's your domains. We just can't work with you. And he came back a year later and he said, you know what? I mean, I've been through like 2 or 3 people. You guys were the best. Now I realize that, will you please take me back, and we did give him another chance. And overall they've been a client for just years and years, and no problem with them for like the last 3 years. So, it's, you have to not be hesitant about getting your needs met in the relationship,
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I really appreciate you spending so much time with me today. I know you're super busy with so many things going on, so it really means a lot to me, and I know my listeners are really excited to hear from one of the great kings of pay-per-click.
So I guess, I'll leave you with one other concept here, which is no matter what you're doing, whether you're a coder or whether you're a graphics guy or whatever, if you look at the Olympics and you look at the top cyclists or the top boxers or the top runners, the top three guys, the only thing that separates those guys who are from that are number one or number two, it's like a tenth of a second. You know what I mean? And the difference between the guy who's number one and the guy who's number 30 or 70 might only be 20 seconds or 10 seconds. It's not that big. So you don't have to be that much better than everybody else. But if you can do that extra little bit to be, 1/10 of a second better, if one out of 100 people, one more person clicks on your ad than somebody else, that makes a whole cascading thing of things that all work to your advantage. So whatever people are going to learn, I just encourage them to go the extra mile and be the very best that you can be, because it will definitely pay off.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for giving us so much information and sharing so much of your time with us.
Okay, you got it, Jonathan.
All right. Thank you so much, buddy.
All right. Well, we'll see you soon, man.
Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye.
To celebrate the launch of this podcast, I'm giving away some epic prizes. You could win an Amazon tap and have me personally turn you into a best-selling author. To win your part of over $20,000 in prizes, go to servenomaster.com/contest.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Serve No Master. Make sure you subscribe so you never miss another episode. We'll be back tomorrow with more tips and tactics on how to escape that rat race. Head over to servenomaster.com/podcasts now for your chance to win a free copy of Jonathan's bestseller, Serve No Master. All you have to do is leave a 5-star review of this podcast. See you tomorrow.